Hello lovely people, welcome back. So I'm doing another chatty video. I mentioned last week that I had an idea for a chatty video that I wanted to share with you, and so here we are. Myself and my beautiful fluffy assistant are here to talk to you about makeup brands that I think you would find very surprising that I have never tried. So I don't have a single product from these brands, given how popular they are, or that the fact that they actually do fit my aesthetic and would be something that you would have expected to see on my channel, and yet you haven't. So I wanted to talk about these brands and let you know why exactly I've never tried anything from them. On the top of my list, and one that I think you're going to find really surprising that I've never tried before, is Charlotte Tilbury. And here's the thing. I think I will probably like her products if I tried them. But the problem I always have with her brand is that I am almost ready to pull the trigger and then I reconsider last minute because I think, but is the product really as special as the price would suggest? And just to give you a few examples of products that I've been really tempted to buy, but I haven't. A couple of years ago I considered purchasing her finishing powder. But at the time, I thought, based on what people are describing about this powder and given its price, I feel like I'm better off trying like one of the Hourglass ambient lighting powders, because those have something special to them. Those have a unique factor, something that brings something new to my collection, and not just another finishing powder. I wanted to try her the Hollywood Flawless filter, and I got scared because I heard people mention that it has like shimmer in it, and I thought, but why would I put anything with shimmer all over my face? And maybe it works well, maybe it works really well, as for the purpose I'm using something like the Glow Lust from Auric, and I think the Glow Lust from Auric is like the closest like dupe kind of product that I can think of on the market right now. But the thing I love about the Glow Lust from Auric is that it doesn't have shimmer in it. It just has a beautiful glow and a bit of coverage to it. And I could be wrong, I might really enjoy the Hollywood Flawless filter if I tried it. But then again, like, given the choice between the two products, I think I would always default to the Auric one just because I love it so much. Then again, another product that I've been tempted to try is her eyeshadow quads, because people have been raving about some of her eyeshadow quads recently. And again, the same thing, I look at them and I think, but how is this special for the price? Like, compared to Pat McGrath Labs, I think Charlotte Tilbury's prices are very much in the range of Pat McGrath Labs, except for the actual product doesn't bring anything special to the table. Like, I don't think that you can compare a quad from Pat McGrath to a quad from Charlotte Tilbury. I think Charlotte Tilbury probably has a good formula, good as in Natasha Denona good, but I don't think that's justified by the price. Like, I don't see why I should be paying the same price for a quad for a Charlotte Tilbury one as I would for one from Pat McGrath, when I don't feel like the wow factor that I'm getting is at the same level. Because I wouldn't pay this amount of money for a quad by Natasha Denona. As much as I love Natasha Denona and her eyeshadow formula, I still don't think it's at the same level as Pat McGrath. So I wouldn't pay this much money for a quad, which is why I've never really bought one of the quintets from Natasha, because I just find them overpriced for what they are. The packaging seems extremely simple. That's another point that I wanted to make with Charlotte Tilbury. I don't know why, but for whatever reason I don't find her packaging to be very appealing. The only products on which I have found the packaging appealing are her lipsticks that are named after Hollywood celebrities. And that's one of the few products that I've also been very tempted to try. She had a lipstick color, I think inspired by Sofia Vergara, and I thought that was such a beautiful color and I really wanted to try it. But for whatever reason I still haven't. So you guys can totally feel free to discuss with me, to oppose me in the comments, to let me know what products you think I'm really going to like from Charlotte Tilbury, because someday I would like to try something from her. I know people have really been enjoying those massive bronzers she released in the end of last year, beginning of this year, I don't know, I don't remember. But she released those bronzers that everyone went crazy for. And once again, I think it looks like a fine powder bronzer. What's so special about it? It might just very well be that I have some sort of a irrational prejudice for her brand and her products that I need to get over with and just try something from her. But I still have not seen the product that will make me pull the trigger. So I'm more than happy to hear your suggestions in the comments. The second brand that I think you would find surprising that I haven't tried anything from is Kaleidos. Kaleidos is an indie brand, it's a Chinese indie brand, and they have been releasing smashing products ever since they came on the market a couple of years ago. I remember they released a palette that's actually been discontinued, I don't think it ever came back, and everyone's been loving their eyeshadow palettes ever since. And I have so wanted to buy something, especially one of their eyeshadow palettes, for such a long time. Like every time they announce that they're going to release something, I'm like, yay, maybe this time I will be attracted to the color story. And every time they release something, I'm like, whoop, whoop, whoop. Still not the palette for me. Just like Meg is waiting for her PPP, Perfect Pat McGrath palette, I'm still waiting for my Perfect Kaleidos palette, PKP. Because I just cannot... I was very tempted several years ago when they had those like really cute quintets with like the flappy packaging. I even mentioned it in a video back then. I was very tempted, especially by the olive one, because it seemed like my types of colors. Everyone on YouTube had only good things to say about their metallic and shimmer formula, even comparing it to eyeshadow formulas like Pat McGrath. So I really wanted to try them. I really wanted to try at least one of those quintets because they would be a sort of affordable way to get into the brand and familiarize myself with their formula. But then again, they just cannot come up with a color story that I think makes sense to me, that I would pull the trigger for. Because every time I look at their quintets, I'm like, these two shades look too similar to each other. What's this shade doing with these other shades? I don't get it. So it might be just like something to do with the way my brain works when it comes to color stories and the fact that I don't understand their color stories. But unfortunately, their quintets always contain an eyeshadow or two that I think are either misplaced or too similar to each other to belong in a quintet. Or they release the bigger palettes, like their 15 pan eyeshadow palettes, and then I think, well, that just looks like any other generic indie brand release at this point. Please let me know what your favorite eyeshadow palette from Kaleidos is and why you like it so much. I would be more than happy to hear your opinions, but in the meantime, I'm going to continue waiting for them to release the perfect eyeshadow palette for me. They just came out with an eyeshadow palette, something with flowers, and I was like, it's just another colorful eyeshadow palette release. I just don't know, it's not the fact that I don't like colorful eyeshadow palettes anymore. Well, it has something to do with that. It has something to do a little bit also with the fact that I have gotten a little bit tired of the rainbow palettes, and every time I see a super colorful palette, I'm like, yet another colorful palette, okay. And I think the new one is just not striking any chords with me at this point. I just want something a little bit more balanced, a little bit more interesting. Because the problem I see with a lot of these indie brands is that they keep releasing the same types of colors and the same types of duochromes that we have already seen over and over again. Like, I want something new, I want something different, something we haven't seen before, and something that will surprise me. And I feel like they're not surprising me with anything. Yes, they're making beautiful duochromes and they're making beautiful multichromes, but it's like all of them offer the same types of duochromes, the same types of multichromes, and I've been in indie makeup for so long that I've seen them all, you know, I've seen them all, I've experienced them all, and they don't bring anything new into my experience as a makeup user. Alright, you guys, where were we? We got cut off last time, so I had to stop recording, and it's a completely different day. And it's actually a very exciting day because in a little bit I'm going to visit Alice and meet her baby for the first time, so that's super exciting. But let's continue where we left off. The third brand that I think you're going to find really surprising that I haven't tried yet is Chanticeille. And let me tell you why I haven't tried the brand. And maybe just start off with a disclaimer. I am so sorry for all of you. I know that a lot of you, my good friends here, are big fans of the brand and you really love their products. But I have no idea whether the products are good, okay? Because I've never tried the brand. But I was really turned off by the brand itself because a few years ago, maybe it was even last year, it wasn't a few years ago, I was getting a little bit curious about their products because they were getting a lot of hype on YouTube and they seemed like the type of brand that I would enjoy. You know, beautiful luxurious packaging, gorgeous products, beautiful formulas. So I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to try Chanticeille. So I went on the Cult Beauty website and I started reading a little bit about them, and then I got more curious and I thought I'm just going to visit the brand's own website and read what they're about. And that was the beginning of the end for me and Chanticeille. Because I went onto the website and they have this like statement on their website about what their brand is about, and it sounded like phony white people, the type that hangs out in the country club, who were like, what kind of like cause should we pretend to care about so that people buy our products? Oh, let's care about, I don't know, birds or the bees or the dogs, whatever. I may be talking a little bit out of my ass now because it's been a while since I've been on their website to read about their disclaimer, but that is the impression that I got from them. You know, phony white people who pretend to care about a charity just so they can convince poor people to buy their expensive product. So that was just, you know, strike one. But then I thought, okay, let's just, you know, ignore the fact that I get a little bit of an off feeling from their statement, and it's giving me already a little bit of a bad taste. I thought, okay, let's just go on and see about their products, like just read about their products. And then I discovered that aside from makeup, they also sell skincare. So I went on to one of their skincare products, and that was strike 2, final strike. I didn't even give them a chance for a strike 3. Because one of their creams was based on the premise that it contains stem cells from apples, so plant stem cells. It's just a fancy term to throw into your skincare cream to make it sound fancy and charge $90 for it, or whatever it is that they charge for their creams. So that was the final strike. I never went back on the website. I never had even the inkling of desire to like try any of their products. So that has been the end for me and Chanticeille. Probably a good thing for my wallet because their products tend to be quite expensive. Moving on to brand number 4 on my list, which is actually the rest of the brands on my list now are all indie brands, like smaller-ish type of indie brands. The first one being Menagerie. So Menagerie used to be called something else, and I understand that a brand wants to change the direction in which they're going to, but I just don't understand when a brand just changes their name and completely confuses their customer base. Like, to me, Menagerie is one of those confusing brands, because there is another one, the one that has the creepy cute palette. I can never remember what they were called, what they're called now, and it's just really confusing to me. But okay, let's ignore the fact, let's assume that they wanted to go in another direction, they wanted to take this like more nature-inspired direction. Whatever, fine. Quite honestly, I've been tempted by a couple of their palettes. I don't remember the name, it was like this palette with a bunch of really beautiful like bluish greenish shades a while back. They also had the Feral palette, which had these like more earthy tones in it, both of them really, really gorgeous. I was actually on their website one day, and I believe the only reason I didn't purchase the palette was because it was out of stock. And then by the time it came back in stock, I had already like talked myself out of it, mostly because when I do the math for a lot of these brands, if I count the shipping, the customs and import taxes that I'm going to pay here, small indie brands cannot really have the type of arrangements that brands like Pat McGrath or Beautylish have with like import and customs, because via those brands you pay less because you don't really pay the import taxes, and the import taxes here are just off the bat 14 euros, and then you get customs on top of that, which is 20% of your purchase value. So if I counted all of that, I think that palette was going to cost me twice as much. And whenever that's the case for an indie brand, I'm immediately like, okay, no, this is not going to be something that you're going to be doing ever again. I think the last time I did that was with Cliona, and I regretted it because I bought single eyeshadows and I've come to the conclusion that I'm not a single eyeshadow person, so I prefer a pre-made palette. And while Menagerie does offer pre-made palettes, as soon as I do that kind of math in my brain, I'm like, thanks, but no. On a similar note, the next brand that you're going to be surprised that I haven't tried is Sydney Grace. Sydney Grace is a very well-loved indie brand. I think they're from Canada. I want to say they're Canadian. And I've heard only good things about the brand itself, about the products, about the eyeshadows. Aside from single eyeshadows, they actually do also offer like custom palettes. At the moment they are working on a custom palette, actually 3 custom palettes with Temptalia, Christine from Temptalia, which is fabulous, and I can't wait to see what those palettes are going to look like. But what I have seen from the swatches, they just look like, you know, generic duochromes and metallic eyeshadows that we have seen before over and over again. And while I believe they're going to be a fabulous formula, I don't know if their formula is for me, because from what I understand, they're a very beautiful metallic formula, but they're not very sparkly, and I do love my sparkly and glittery eyeshadows. So that's one of the reasons I never tried Sydney Grace, because I asked a couple of people around me who do own Sydney Grace eyeshadows, and they were like, we don't think they are your style. They're gorgeous eyeshadows, beautiful formula, very flattering on the eye, but they're not really sparkly, so you might be disappointed. The final brand on my list is one that is still on my radar. I still haven't tried them, which is surprising, and I would really like to, because aside from everything else, they are also based in Europe, which means that I don't have to pay the VAT and the import taxes, which is awesome. And the brand is Glam Shop. Glam Shop is a Polish indie brand. It has gained a lot of traction on YouTube recently. Pretty much most of my friends have not been able to shut up about their products. And I think I'm going to swatch a few of those now when I go to Alice's place, because I'm just really curious. They have these really interesting formulas, like their Turbo Glows and the, the marble eyeshadows. They look really beautiful, really like complex and glittery and multichromy, and personally I'm not turned off by like the more flaky type of textures, because Pat McGrath also has a couple of eyeshadows which are quite flaky. I just always use my fingers and glitter glue to apply eyeshadows like this. So for me, how to work with some of their formulas wouldn't be the problem. The problem would be more, again, are we talking about something that is more special, something innovative, something new, or just another generic indie brand that offers the same thing, you know, same old all over again? In which case I just don't want, you know, same old. I want something new, something exciting, something different, something that I haven't tried before. I have seen a couple of really beautiful and tempting palettes from them. They have this palette which is a little bit more like earth toned, like olive toned based. They also had a yellow eyeshadow palette. I think Alice may own at least one of these palettes, so I'm very curious to swatch it and just feel the eyeshadows live, because Glam Shop, although I haven't tried them yet, is one of those brands that's really on my radar, especially for their eyeshadow palettes, because I don't have to bother with the customs and import taxes. The shipping is pretty okay, and from what I can recall, I think the prices of their eyeshadow palettes were not too exorbitant. So those were the brands that I thought you might be surprised that I haven't tried yet. Let me know if you share any of my thoughts, or if you disagree with me. I'm sure that some of you will disagree with me, especially on Chanticeille and Charlotte Tilbury. And like I said, it's not that, well, with Chanticeille it's a done deal. I'm never going to try their products. But with Charlotte Tilbury, I'm just really waiting for the product that will make me try the brand. I don't have anything against them. I just haven't really found the product that speaks to me so much that I would spend the money on it. Anyway, I'm curious to hear what brands do you personally find surprising that you haven't tried yourself yet. Let me know what the reasons for that are. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!